All right, Ray Palmer here, Shallon Sports. We are in the office here at St. Peter's, overlooking the football field. In front of me, world-class, gorgeous weight room. I went to St. Peter's in 1992. I wasn't an alumnus, didn't graduate, but went. If you haven't been back in a long time, come check this out. I mean, they have turned this place into a place of beauty. If you've been following along, you see interviews with defensive line coach, offensive line coach, special teams coach Ray Constantino. You've seen Clubby Near, you've seen John Carlson, you've seen basically the entire staff. Well, right now, to my right and to my left, we're getting to, I guess we call it the top of the food chain in many ways here at St. Peter's. So to my left, I don't even know the terminology to use. Why don't you introduce yourself, sir, and tell me what is your title here at St. Peter's?
Mark Decristoforo, co-head coach and athletic director, as you know.
I am aware of athletic director. I wasn't sure what term to use for coach. And to my right, coach?
Nick Giannatasio, co-head coach.
Okay. Nick, your first year at St. Peter's, can you tell us a little about your history prior to St. Peter's from a coaching perspective?
Sure. I started coaching at Poly Prep back in the 90s. And then I went to...
Did you coach Timmy Lee?
No, I didn't. I coached there in 94, 95.
Okay. Oh, no. Okay, a little younger. Love Timmy Lee. Go ahead.
And then I went to Susan Wagner. I was the receiver coach there. And then from 99 and 2000, I was the offensive coordinator at Nazareth. And then 2001 and 2013, I was the offensive coordinator at Bishop Ford. And from 2015...
A little louder, coach. Just so
Sorry.
Yeah, we want to get you.
2015 until this March, I was at Moore Catholic as head coach.
Head coach at Moore Catholic, and I remember broadcasting a lot of games. Moore Catholic had some tremendous talent over the years, right? Not here, I'm sorry, what is your title here at St. Peter's?
Co-head coach.
Co-head coach. And then other co-head coach, Rob Sika, not here today, but I had a chance to talk to him off the field. So Mark, you've been, full disclosure, Mark and I were classmates in 1984, first grade. So it's a friendship that goes back a long way. So I know the story. I know that you after coaching at Farrell, playing at Farrell, coaching at Farrell for many years, became the head coach here. Great success early on. Unprecedented levels of success for a program that didn't have a field, right? Then a hiatus. Step back from the game for a few years, focus on family, make the comeback. Now, what year are you in the second comeback here?
I think 4 or 5, honestly not really sure, but came to St. Peter's in 2011, 11 and 12 I was an assistant head coach and became the head coach in 13. And then roughly 2017, 18 there was a break, and then came back I think full-time 19 till to now.
So 19 to now, and Coach, you mentioned your wealth of experience. So obviously, for people that don't know, the program at Moore Catholic no longer exists. But Coach, you resigned from your position prior to that occurring,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
Okay. So if you guys, either one can take it. How does this happen? How does St. Peter's, I use the word acquire such a well, you heard the resume, right, Coach D?
Absolutely.
How does this happen, and how do you end up acquiring and basically getting, it's like kind of like getting Bill Parcells to join your staff almost. How does that go about? How'd that occur?
Honestly, from our perspective, is that way before any of this was going on, Nick and I have become very, very good friends. Everything that I personally went through, Nick and the guys around him and the Moore Catholic community and football program could not have been more supportive, and we only became closer friends through that. But on the football field, you know, Nick his just as long as I've been coaching, I remember seeing Nick around way back to the Bishop Ford days. He has a tremendous reputation, and through the years, like through the All-Star games, we got to know each other personally, trips on the bus to All-Stars, talking about our families and how those kinds of visions aligned. And obviously now in the situation that we're in, for me personally, on any drop of a dime, I could not be here for a day. I cannot be here for a week as my family, recovers, and we're still settling into rebuilding our home. And I thought it was important to have, obviously, as many good coaches as possible, but to have, very important, the co-head coach is a title for someone that, when I'm not present, there's no discussion who the boss is, handling refs, handling parents, handling the media. And obviously, Rob Sika stepped in and took that role fully, and he still has that lead position this year. But God bless him, Rob is close to retirement from the Department of Sanitation, And when he does, his family's already moved down to South Carolina.
How's he retiring? He's like 20 years old.
I know,
How's that happen?
we got the wrong
How
jobs.
long do they work?
And then I wanted to make sure, first of all, selfishly, I want to continue to coach in the way that I'm coaching now as long as possible, where I can walk away, for a day or two at any time. And when I know we were going to lose Rob at the end of the next season, when Nick was available, it was a no-brainer. And obviously with Nick's resume, there's no way he was just coming on as an assistant coach. Not only does he deserve the co-head coach role, but in the league he has the respect and the knowledge as a co-head coach. And then most importantly, Nick's vast connections and the assistants that he brought with him to recruiting college and recruiting 8th graders and his former players. I wanted to make sure they knew that he had the co-head coach title, so they felt comfortable coming around, using the weight room, using the facility. And then lastly, and most importantly to me, is just the sell of all sells. Nick put his confidence in us. He has an 8th grade son, or now will be a freshman son, that's playing on this great JV team that's out behind us, and my son is in the same situation. So not only has he come on as a co-head coach, but we both became St. Peter's football parents at the same time. So just timing and synergy, it kind of all just worked out that way.
So, Coach Nick, how did it happen? You decided to resign at More Catholic, and you're here now. What was the first step? Like, how did it start? How did it start to come together?
Well, I had every intention of continuing to coach at More Catholic, and they just decided that they didn't want the football program to be constituted the way it was. They wanted to go in a different direction, kind of tear it down and start over. And I was very frank with them that I didn't want to be a part of that. But as soon as I knew that I was leaving there, the first person I reached out to was Mark. And it was really, really easy to put together. Mark and the entire staff and administration here, including the kids, have been great through this whole process. Like Mark alluded to the fact, we've had our former players from More Catholic come down here, use the weight room, and it feels like home.
Gives them a home, yeah, absolutely.
It's great. And as far as coming here, like I brought as many of my assistants as could possibly come here. I brought here, and the great thing is, St. Peter's already had a great staff. It wasn't like we were hired to like fill a gap. The coaches here are excellent, and Mark has built like a great program, and we're here to just add value and make this program even better. But it's already a great program.
We'll quickly let's talk about the additions. We'll use some names. So what are some of the athletes, Mark or Nick, the players that have come from More that will only strengthen an already strong St.
Well, I would talk about, for me especially, I'm happy with the kids, but the coaches. So Coach Ford, we have, people would be shocked, we really had a vacancy on the offensive line last year. Even though we had so much success, it was shocking to get a full-time committed guy. And again, from afar, I always admired Coach Ford as an offensive line guy. So it wasn't like, as Coach Nick said, it wasn't like we had to replace somebody. We had a vacancy there. And then Coach BJ Lovett has come on full-time, another offensive guy as the wide receiver coach, which gives, for me, which is exciting, it gives Coach Carlson some more flexibility as the offensive coordinator and play caller. So the two full-time guys that came over with Nick, selfishly, again, for me, concentrating on offense, and Nick himself with a background in offensive line and being a play caller himself, it's just really filled a void, and the synergy has kind of been really perfect so far. So that would be the coaching staff, full-time guys so far.
And what about playing-wise, Coach? What's some of the athletes that have joined over here at St. Peter's?
So unfortunately, because of the transfer rules, we couldn't. A bunch of our kids wanted to come here, but the way the league rules work, if they, once we resigned, a lot of the kids left there.
Gotcha.
And when they went to public school, they're not allowed to come back.
Okay, gotcha. So the rules kind of bitch.
Because they left while technically Moore still had a program.
Still, right. So any kid who left, gotcha. Okay, I was unaware of that.
We have a bunch of kids here still, but not as many as wanted to come.
Sure, I'm sure. Well, okay, so it's the obvious question, right? I'm a high school basketball coach on Staten Island the last 22 years, right? And I've always kept a relatively short bench because I'm a believer of, especially in basketball, if you have 10 guys sitting on that bench, there's 7 guys that aren't doing anything, right? So I was here yesterday. I've never played it down in my life, so football practice is a new thing to me. And what blew me away was the amount of adults coaching different positions, different kids. every adult was doing something, and it blew my mind how structured, organized the high school practice was. So my question to you guys now, with Coach Sika as the face, right? The head, I guess kind of the acting head coach, deal with more of the media stuff with your personal situation, right? Doing a great job with that. You got Coach Nick coming in, resume up the roof, and you got Coach Decristoforo, whose resume can bang with anybody else's, right? So, what are the expressions? Too many Indians, too many Chiefs, not enough Indians. Too many cooks in the kitchen. Too many cooks will spoil the soup. I'm butchering these expressions, right?
You are.
How has the balance come along, and how do we make sure that there's synergy? Because with any dissension of the coaching staff, it trickles down to the players, right? So how do we ensure that everyone's in the right lane and knows their roles here as far as the coaching staff goes?
From my perspective, Ray, honestly, and obviously Nick could speak much more clear on it, is that I feel that here at St. Peter's, we just give everybody a role and we let them run as fast as they can in that role. Like, nobody really gets heavily micromanaged. We all share the same goal, and I think what I guess what you could say is the ego situation, although we like to publicly present that everybody has a big ego. If you look at Nick, we're talking about, we played in the championship game last year. Last year was the first time we ever beat Nick, and now here he is. Moore played in 3 consecutive championship games in a row, so combined we have the last 4 in a row. But what I like most about Nick is that he just fits that mold of the no ego concept, like a good old friend. Like Nick, or myself, I can tell you right now, if my role, especially if I could get a raise to do it, was just to like clean up the field after, I'd be happy to do it. And I think Nick's assistants have filled into their full-time roles tremendously. And honestly, Nick has just been, a nice smooth interaction into what we're trying to do. Nobody here is trying to step on anybody's toes, just collectively, sharing the same goal. And there are staffs where like, I'm the coordinator, I'm the head coach, don't say anything. But that's not the case here, and it's never been. We all kind of learn from each other. And between Nick and Coach Ford, we've already added some plays and their knowledge of opponents, and it's kind of just everybody needs titles, but when you've been coaching as long as we have, you start to not worry about it as much. You just kind of want to win and be productive, and I think that's where we're at as a very low ego coaching staff, just trying to help the kids be the best they can be.
So, Coach Nick, I guess you would be the one. Some would look at it as sacrifice, right? If you're running a program, you're running the day-to-day operations. Some would look at it as sacrifice. I think maybe others could look at it as opportunity, right? So, how has this adjustment been for you so far here at St. Peter's?
Well, I think Mark hit the nail on the head. Like, we're on the same page already, so I think that makes everything easier. That the vision that Mark has, I share, and same thing with Coach Sika. So there hasn't been any dissension because we all want the same thing, and like Mark said, we don't have egos to worry about. And I think it can be lonely as a head coach.
Yeah.
Before we were coaching together, we would text each other sometimes about hey, we're struggling through
Stuff
practice,
we're dealing with,
and now we could support each other on a daily basis here with the same goals, and singing from the same song sheet.
Yeah, and I won't get too personal, but again, Sika has things going on, and Nick can certainly, my daughter's going to be a senior next year. Nick has a kid going to college now, and when we could say, I hope to not miss anything taking my daughter to college next year, and I would encourage Nick to not miss anything, as I know he's going to be here as much as he can. He's been here more than I have, actually. I want everybody to make sure that they prioritize their family, and when you have the various coaches that we have that can be in charge at any time and no one really caring who gets the credit, I think it's a very helpful and healthy place.
You actually just stole how I planned on closing the interview. It's my favorite expression. It's how I call. I'm a high school basketball coach, like I said, and my assistant coaches have the power to pull a kid in and out of the game at any time. Sometimes I won't agree. I'll look at why is so-and-so not in the game, right? But you want them in power, right? And I believe in that, the expression you kind of just alluded to, Coach. And I think from Sika, Coach Nick, yourself, John Carlson, Clubby Nia, O-line, D-line, I'm forgetting everybody's names, right? It just seems like It is the expression is from Roy Williams. It is amazing what can be accomplished when nobody cares who gets the credit.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that seems to be the case over here at St. Peter's, and it's been a lot of success the last few years, and I think with this coaching staff, the sky is the limit. So, Coach Nick, thank you so much for joining us on the Challenge Board. Mark D.
I just want to say one more thing, Ray, if I
Absolutely.
can.
Fire
And
away.
again,
Fire
very
away.
most important is that the future looks very, very bright. And when I say that Nick and I are proud parents of current 9th graders, and then I look out and I see a super JV team out there.
65 kids on that field.
It is-
One of them's like 6'8".
By no mistake, even though, some of the kids transferred from more couldn't be here, a lot of those kids that are outside are because of Coach Nick and Coach Ford, and we couldn't be happier about the future, and the future looks very bright here at STP.
I learned this football expression yesterday. Coach Nick said it. He said it so calmly, too, to the kids. He's like, we need to be more violent with our hands. And I was like, that's the most football thing I ever heard. That's my football training camp learning curve. Coaches, thanks so much for joining us. Ray Palmer here, Challenge Sports. Let's get to the field.